Hello and welcome back to SiGMA TV. We're here to bring you some of the biggest developments in the business and gaming space as we gear up for our digital conference in June. So if you are a fan of the space or you're looking to learn more, follow SiGMA's page. Well, as COVID-19 continues to rattle the cages of many business models, we'll be taking a look at the growing opportunity in esports. And joining me is Ebbe Groes from EveryMatrix. Founded in 2008, and since then, Ebbe has grown his business from a startup to an established company, currently catering to several tier 1 operators in the iGaming industry. So it's great to be joined with you today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, can we start just by summarising? It has been a very volatile 6 weeks in general, but have we seen a change in approach from sports betting into esports in this time?
Yes, it has of course been extremely dramatic last 6 weeks. Extremely dramatic, and also if you can relax a little bit about all the losses, also super interesting. And yes, esports has entered the stage with a bang, from being completely niche, targeting only a sub-segment of players and not really drawing any consideration from the major sports books. Now, of course, it's a very large part of the offering.
And if we look at performance as well, are you able to identify what kind of bookmakers had a better performance maybe than you were expecting? Did some fare better or worse in your opinion in the past months?
Yes, we've had a look around, and there are some quite large differences actually in how well the different sports books have been able to cope with this and turn around their offering. Which is understandable because there are a lot of changes needed to accommodate esports in a proper way. One of the large differences, of course, being the streaming part, but in general, you have to certainly find your events completely new places. You have to find new suppliers of data for your settlement, for your odds compilation, etc. So a lot of work, and if you're sitting on a platform that's a little bit older, a little bit less agile, then you will find this problematic, and we've seen that for sure. So we've done a lot with our sports product to change this, and really gone all in on it, and the results are also then quite impressive. So today, we have around half of our turnover is on esports, and the other half then on what remains of the old sports at the moment. And of course, the total volume has dropped by a lot, but yeah, it would have dropped even more if it hadn't been for the esports. So we look at it as a big success that we able to double up on regular sports by looking at what sports have been adding at the moment.
And this 50-50 percentage that you have mentioned for esports, that is huge. And I think for a lot of people that were dabbling their performance in the esports industry, they might not have expected this to be such ample growth in such a short amount of time. So what kind of things in particular are we seeing from bookmakers when it comes to just having to potentially consider completely new territory for them?
Yes. First of all, of course, for many bookmakers, it is really a foreign territory. Yes, so you had to embrace this and rethink some things you're doing. One thing that surprised us then has been what people are actually betting on, and so we came with let's say traditional esports products, CS:GO, Dota, LOL. 10, 15 such traditional computer games that people have been betting on. And what has been happening over this month has been a lot of innovation and a lot of growth within the computer game titles that are sports related. So that's in particular FIFA, the football game, and NBA 2K, the basket game, but also other sports, e-tennis, e-hockey, and so on, where the crossover from traditional sport is much easier. And yeah, this accounts today for around 90% of the esports volumes. There has been growth on the traditional titles as well. So for sure, all of esports is benefiting, but in particular, it's these sports titles that have taken off massively.
And are you surprised at the performance of these massive sport titles, as you've mentioned, kind of like the ice hockey, the FIFAs of the nation? Are they surprising you at the moment? Did that come as a surprise?
Yeah, I would say yes. We had hoped probably that we would be able to add, 20, 25% at best, but it just has kept growing every week. Um, we see the numbers picking up more and more and more, and of course, there is some effect of players then getting used to this. There's a adaptation phase, and this is happening maybe I would say surprisingly fast. Um, what we are in a phase now is where the revenue is actually starting to increase again. So as we've seen sports disappearing, then we had week after week after week where total turnover and the GGR has been dropping on a week-to-week basis. But now we have bottomed out, and so we are at the bottom of a U shape. And this week, the week before, now we're actually seeing that it's turning up again, and it's a large part of this is due to esports now picking up. So to some extent, the sports betting cannot get much worse than it is today, and now esports is pulling the wagon and slowly turning it around.
And you said something really interesting there, which is that players are starting to get used to this. So I think we've already considered and factored in the initial shock reaction of COVID-19 and the impact that's had on esports industry. But as this slowly starts to subside and things start to get back to normal, are you expecting some of what we have seen when it comes to adoption of esports, that to continue into 2021, for example?
Yes, for sure. There are some special characteristics about esports that we expect to mean that the players that are now getting introduced to esports will actually hang around. And I mentioned before that actually even the non-sports titles have also seen good growth. They have doubled, they have trebled on those titles as well. So players will start by coming in. They will check out what's happening on FIFA and the basketball game. But after that, they start looking around on the other titles as well, and find some of them interesting and start betting on them. But yeah, esports in general has some advantages compared to normal sports, and once you're getting used to this, then you will appreciate these benefits that esports bring you. The very big thing, of course, is the streaming. You are facing a situation where you are able to almost always at least, have a game stream next to your betting. And as we know, of course, this has been a big area of investment on traditional sports throughout the last decade, with large bookmakers leading the way, and with the rights for these streaming events to be quite expensive, allowing only the largest operators to do this. For esports, on the other hand, most of the content is readily available. It's free, streamed on YouTube, it's streamed in particular on Twitch, and that allows every operator to put out the content and have streaming content for almost all the events. This makes for a quite completely different experience. In particular, these sports titles. Here, the games are so easy for the player to follow. So even when you're betting on your mobile, you're able to watch the stream on your mobile at the same time as you're betting. So here are some benefits for the esports titles that regular football will not be able to offer. Of course, another thing is that a large part of the normal betting is on quite exotic events. So you can wonder, to what extent am I more interested in betting on a lower league or non-top league of football, compared to betting on, let's say, I'm betting to Premier League teams playing each other in FIFA. Teams I know, players I know, and where the betting happens at a game conducted at a high level. So even there, you find some familiarity in esports betting that might be just as big or bigger than it is to watch a normal football game from a lower league.
It is certainly exciting to see as this unfolds and we do see more of a surge into an emerging industry that's only set to grow. So we'll have to catch up as well in our June digital conference and see how things have changed from now until then. But thank you so much for your time today. It was great to get some insight into the esports world. So thank you for your time.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. Well, that's all from us here. We'd love to hear how you found your segment. So share your thoughts in the comments below.